The probe dropped when Joe Biden became president. So is this picking up where that left off, David?
It's possible. I don't know with 100% certainty, but it is notable, guys, that John Bolton, Ambassador Bolton's security clearances were stripped earlier this year by President Trump. Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, took that security clearance away. They had concerns. The administration had concerns about Ambassador Bolton still being able to access some of these documents and have some of those security clearances. It's also notable that John Bolton had a security detail as well. Because of the threats from Iran on his life, that security detail, that government federal paid security detail, was also taken away by President Trump.
Hey, welcome in. We have got to talk about the news story of the day, and that is former Ambassador John Bolton. Deep State John, warmonger Bolton, his house and his office both got raided by the FBI today in the latest move on the Accountability Project. That's what I like to call it. The Accountability Project, or better known as FAFO 2025. All the people who effed around back in 2016 and 17 and 18, all the way through 2024, are now finding out that the Trump administration is not the same old Republicans. They are not the, we're just going to go along to get along. No, no, no. This is the Trump administration of Kash Patel, of Dan Bongino, of J.D. Vance, people who have determined that it is about high time that those who actually broke the law be held accountable for their actions. Something that hasn't happened in Washington in probably 60 years or more. So this is a huge story. Welcome in, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me here at Courageous Media. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe, turn on the notifications, hit that bell, hit the thumbs up, like what you see. This is absolutely fantastic that you're here on an amazing Friday. So John Bolton's house and office got raided earlier this morning by the FBI. And the media is in an apoplectic meltdown. BS Now, the new name of formerly PMSNBC, who tried to rebrand, is not working. Nobody watches them anyway. But BS Now has joined in on the action. They are doing everything they can to attempt to smear Trump as weaponizing government against his enemies. This has nothing to do with that at all. This is actually accountability for what these people have done. Now, let's take a little trip down memory lane, shall we? John Bolton, if you'll remember, is warmonger John, the man who never met a war he didn't like, who wanted forever wars, who wanted to invade everybody on the planet. Clearly, he was getting some type of kickback from war because he wanted every single war he could get. He wanted to bomb Iran. He wanted to keep the troops in Afghanistan. He wanted to invade everybody. Well, this is what John Bolton had to say, little blast from the past, when Mar-a-Lago was raided. Check this out.
But I don't think he cared about the classification system. I don't think he appreciated the sensitivity of this information, and he didn't appreciate the sensitivity of how it was often acquired, the so-called sources and methods. So this had been briefed to him before I arrived. It was repeated frequently. I think it simply had no impact on him whatever.
There's a couple of different ways that people think about this, and people who are not friendly to the president who think about what's happened here. And one of them is, Donald Trump, master thief, criminal, running some kind of elaborate conspiracy to bring things out of the White House and keep them secret, for potentially for political or financial gain. There are other people who attitude is Trump is chaotic. He's careless. He's not that smart. He took these things almost by mistake, and now he's basically stamping his feet and saying they're mine. I don't want to give them up. Give me a sense of where you think the truth lies with respect to Trump's intelligence, carelessness, and the degree to which he might have brought motive to bear on taking these documents out of the White House and keeping them for this long at Mar-a-Lago.
Well, it's very hard to speculate on motive other than that he liked cool things. He saw things so he wanted to take them, and he was pretty much able to take them, and not just on classified information matters, on all kinds of things that crossed his desk. Some days he liked to eat a lot of French fries. Some days he took classified documents. He wanted them. Why did he want them? Because he could get them.
So we got John Warmonger Bolton a few years ago trashing President Trump. Oh, sometimes he likes to eat too many French fries, and sometimes he just likes to take the shiny bauble classified information. So here's the major problem with John Bolton's take on this, despite his clear animosity for the president. The fact is that the president has, and everybody seems to forget this, plenary authority to declassify documents at will, with nothing more than a word. The president can say, this is now declassified, and guess what? It is declassified. The president is allowed to declassify documents at any point in time. The president is allowed to retain any documents that he so desires when he leaves office. That is the Presidential Records Act. He can take anything he wants with him. Now, the presidential archives or the government archives can request some of those documents back, but the president does not have to relinquish them. He's not required by law to do so. So President Trump at Mar-a-Lago had the plenary authority to take whatever documents he wanted. If they were still classified, he had to maintain them under a security protocol, which is very easy since every single president has a Secret Service detail. Or he could simply declassify those documents. So that's the big difference. You've got John Bolton railing President Trump because he's just stupid and he likes the shiny bauble and how dare he take these things. No, he has every single right. Every president in history has taken documents when he left office, not only for his personal archives, but also for his library. Going back decades, Bush did it, Reagan did it, Clinton did it, Obama didn't. Everybody takes the documents. You are allowed because as president, you can declassify them and no one can stop you. So Trump, whatever documents he may have had in his possession, it was legal for him to do so. The media never wanted you to know that. It was perfectly legal for President Trump to have every single classified document that he ever wanted in his home. And yet, what we have now is John Bolton's house being raided for potentially having classified documents that he was never allowed to have. John Bolton could access, with a top secret security clearance, classified documents, but those documents had to be accessed in a classified, in a top secret environment, in a SCIF, in some other official government capacity. He is never allowed to take them out of those protocols. He's never allowed to take them home and just peruse them. He's never allowed to keep them. So John Bolton rails on President Trump, for the Mar-a-Lago raid and basically justifies the whole thing, and now is screaming and crying because the Department of Justice and the FBI have raided his home and office looking for classified documents. Why? Well, because in his book, he published classified information. Where did he get said classified information? And does he still retain the documents for that classified information? So you've got John Bolton being raided. Now, this is very important. I want you to see this. This is on CNN. This is one thing that the media, who is absolutely melting down over this, calling it weaponization and all sorts of other nonsense, is never going to tell you. Check out this very astute witness or commentator on CNN talking about the facts that the media doesn't want you to know. Check this out. And while we get into this, just want to give a shout out. Lynn Sanger, first in the house. Welcome in on a Friday. Really appreciate you being here. Albert Marsh in the house. Stu Stansky. Lock this bastard up. Absolutely. I agree with you. Corrupt hypocrisy must be purged in government. Lynn, that is right. MSDNC, Michael Perrin, is now BS Now. That is their new name. BS Now. Don't forget it. All right, let's check this out.
I mean, you've heard from Andrew and Caitlin that there has to be some showing of probable cause to a federal judge. This just isn't Donald Trump's or Kash Patel's anger or vitriol coming to roost here. There are line FBI agents, career prosecutors, career people in the Department of Justice who assembled a case file that had to go to a federal judge, presumably who doesn't take any of these things lightly, and show a probable cause, more likely than not, that there was evidence of a crime of some sort contained in John Bolton's house. So while this, John Berman said earlier, this has a really bad look to it, this has probably been going on now for quite some time. This isn't pulled together in a few hours. This investigation has most likely been going on for quite some time to get to this point. The timing is optically, it looks political because of, as you said, John Berman alluded to it, that, Bolton was on criticizing the president heavily. He's been a big detractor of Donald Trump's, has said a lot of not nice things about Donald Trump, but that does not still underlie the fact that there may be some there, and that a federal judge someplace found that there's more likely than not something here in this house that contains evidence of a crime.
Exactly. This is not something that Donald Trump or Pam Bondi or Kash Patel or Dan Bongino or any one of them can do unilaterally. They cannot go raid John Bolton's house and office with a search warrant, with a court order unilaterally. They cannot simply weaponize the FBI and say, go raid his house. They had to get a federal judge to sign off on the search warrant. This is not secret FISA spying either, like they did on Trump, like they did illegally on Trump. No, this is out in the open. A judge signed off on a search warrant. This is most likely, and it's a federal judge because it's federal agencies. So this has most likely been going on for 60 plus days that they have been in the works investigating this. And why are they investigating it? Because John Bolton published classified data in his book, or allusions to classified data. So they've got him on, okay, where did he get this data? Where are the documents? Did he somehow memorize the documents and then go write his book? Or did he take the documents out of whatever skiff or whatever other facility that he could access them and take them home? And does he still have them? Or does he have records that he had them, i.e. stuff on his computer or whatnot? This is going to get, I think, very ugly for John Bolton. Now, there may be no there there. They may not find anything. And unlike the Biden White House, they will not manufacture it like they did vis-a-vis the Mar-a-Lago raid. Remember when the FBI took documents out of Trump's secure facility at Mar-a-Lago and then staged those documents, took them out of boxes, arranged them, rearranged them, put fake classified cover sheets on them that they made in the FBI office and took pictures of them and then leaked those pictures to the press trying to say, look, President Trump had classified data. You won't see the Trump White House, the Trump administration, the Trump DOJ do that. You will see them follow the law. And if there's no there, it'll go away. But if there is a there, this is going to get really, really ugly. Now, check this out, because of course, the mainstream liberal media is in absolute meltdown mode, and we will go right to our favorites, BS Now, where they talk about this absolute nonsense. Check this out.
Yeah, this is chilling. It really is. Listen, John Bolton and I disagreed on many things back in the days when I.
For those of you who don't know, Claire McCaskill is the ex-Racco Lib senator from Missouri, now a political commentator, basically a washed-up has-been hack, but a complete and utter leftist. Somebody who hates Trump, somebody who hated Bolton when Bolton was an actual Republican, but loves Bolton as soon as Bolton turned on Trump, and loves Bolton because Bolton never met a war he didn't like.
Was serving in public office. But I don't think very many people that know John Bolton would argue that his beliefs were intellectually sound. You could disagree with him, and that he gave a lot to this country in terms of time and his intellect and his work ethic. And it clearly, this is retribution. Clearly, this is using the FBI in a way that not only tarnishes the FBI, but it tarnishes our country. I mean, this is what they do in countries where they don't have rule of law. This is what happens when despots take over, like Putin. And John Bolton has always been critical of how, I mean, he about lost it when Trump wanted to invite the Taliban to Camp David. It's chilling. Now, do I think they're ever going to have evidence to convict this man of anything in a court of law with a jury? No, they won't.
Well, I take umbrage with that one. But do not listen to Claire McCaskill or believe a word that she says. Everything that she just basically said there was a lie. First of all, this is absolutely not weaponization. This is not retaliation. And they have very real probable cause against John Bolton. Where was Claire McCaskill and where was John Bolton when Mar-a-Lago was raided, other than saying, no one is above the law and the president probably committed a crime? Where was all of this? John Bolton has been railing against the president because the president, Trump, did not want to start foreign wars. Now realize that their absolute meltdown over Donald Trump, basically bringing accountability to people who have possibly taken and leaked classified information. Don't forget the mantra that was 4 years ago. Shall we? Don't forget this little gem, because this is not going to age well for Democrats.
No one, especially the president, is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
Nobody is above the law.
No one is above the law.
Nobody is above the law.
No one 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 is above the law.
Well, I guess except if you're Democrat, then they want you to be above the law. They want John Bolton to be above the law. They want John Brennan to be above the law. They want James Clapper to be above the law, James Comey to be above the law. They want all of them to not be subject to the same rules that us plebeians are subjected to, and to the same rules that they tried to subject President Trump to. Where were the cries of outrage when they trumped up, pardon the pun, when they created out of whole cloth complete nonsense cases in Georgia, 2 in New York, 3 in New York, the entire Jack Smith prosecution, all of them were created out of whole cloth, Frankenstein RICO cases, ridiculous cases in New York where they took a misdemeanor that was out of the statute of limitations, somehow brought it back into the statute of limitations, attached an underlying felony to it, which they never named what the felony was or actually convict President Trump of the felony, but then said, oh, because there was an underlying crime, that falsification of business records now becomes a felony, even though it's outside of the statute of limitations. They created Frankenstein cases, and none of these people batted an eye. They said, oh, no, President Trump is not above the law. He's not above the law. No one is above the law. No one is above the law. Well, guess what? John Bolton, John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey, none of them are above the law either. And it's FAFO time. It is accountability time. It is time, if you effed around for the last 8 years, it is time that you found out what the true force of law can be. This is absolutely ridiculous. Now, we're going to turn to someone you probably never thought you would see on this show. Not this show in general, but on this particular episode. And that is former Trump attorney Michael Cohen, who had some interesting things to say about this entire John Bolton situation. Check this out.
I've been there, as you know, years back, they raided my home, hotel, and my law office as well. Let me be very clear about something. What we have here is the Trump team, the DOJ, going through, for example, the book, The Room Where It All Happened, which I actually had read while I was in solitary confinement. And they've noticed that there are many aspects of this book that appear to be of national security importance. And that's what I believe that they predicated this raid upon. I also
Exactly. That's what we said at the beginning. Because John Bolton published a book that had national security classified information or allusions to it in the book, they had a complete predicate for probable cause. They walked that into a judge and say, hey, we've got a former staff member who is not allowed access outside of proper channels to classified information that has published a book that has potential classified information in it. And who, oh, by the way, back when he worked for the Trump administration, there were suspicions of him leaking classified information. And the judge looked at that and goes, yeah, go search his house. There's absolute probable cause there. So this is Michael Cohen. Take it with a grain of salt because it's Michael Cohen. But basically saying, hey, John Bolton has kind of gotten himself into this nonsense.
also believe that there's no doubt that he will be indicted. They will find documents once they go through, for example, his computer. They'll find the manuscript. They'll see emails going back and forth between John Bolton, his people, as well as maybe the attorney that reviewed it for, for legal ease and for questions. I believe that he needs to lawyer up, and very much like what happened 2 years ago, Reality Winner. That's a name that nobody talks about anymore. One document that was about Russian election interference ultimately had her incarcerated. She was a whistleblower, had her incarcerated for years. And I predict that John Bolton is going to suffer the same consequence.
Wow. Wow. So here you've got Michael Cohen basically saying that John Bolton, because Michael Cohen has some personal knowledge, not of John Bolton necessarily, but of this type of situation where his home was raided, where the FBI said, hey, we're coming after you. And he basically said, this is not going to end well for John Bolton because the FBI, now that they have probable cause, the FBI isn't going to go to a judge. You know, it's not like the TV shows where they go to a judge and they're trying to hope to get a warrant. They've got some goofy, it's not like that. The FBI goes before a judge when they've got things buttoned up, when they've got what they think is an absolute winner of a case. And so they go to a judge and the judge says, absolutely. So now they're raiding his house. They're taking every document, every computer. They have access to his cloud storage, all of it. And so what Michael Cohen is saying is, hey, if he put classified information in that book, guarantee you he has got documents or references to documents or references to classified information somewhere in the manuscript, on his computer, in emails. And if he disclosed any classified information, even if it's one piece, even if it's one document, he is subject to prosecution and prison. And that's not just Michael Cohen. That is what U.S. code says. That is what the law says. Don't forget, I believe his name was Janako Y. He was a U.S. sailor. He was stationed on a submarine. I believe he was a cook. He took pictures of the kitchen of the submarine. Did he put them out? Did he send them to the Russians? No. Did he send them to Chinese? No. Did he send them to any foreign country? No. Did he send them anywhere? No, he did not. He took pictures on his phone. He then, when he was on leave, took his phone and he flew home to see his parents. And he showed his parents the pictures of where he worked. That information got back to the Navy, and Janako Y was prosecuted for mishandling classified information and went to prison. If that is any indication of what the federal government will do to John Bolton will also go to prison. I believe Michael Cohen's probably right on this. Take it with a grain of salt because it's Michael Cohen. But knowing what happened to Janako Y, if there is not two-tier justice in this case, John Bolton will most likely end up getting indicted, and he will most likely end up getting tried, and he will probably end up getting convicted. But we will see what happens. Let me know what you think in the comments. Lynn Sanger, absolutely FAFO. Karma is a BT. That's right. Lynn Sanger, no one is above the law. Albert Marsh, John Bolton was a warmonger. He wanted to fight every country. That is absolutely right. John Bolton's a disgusting deep state, Trump deranged knucklehead. And he basically tried to out-Trump when because of his Trump derangement syndrome, and now he's FAFOing. It's absolutely amazing. Now, let's switch gears here. Please, before we do, smash that like button for me. If you haven't already subscribed to Courageous Media, please do so. Hit that bell so the notifications come on so you know when we drop new content. Really appreciate everybody rolling up on a Friday. So the other major news of the day is a continuation of yesterday's story, and that is the redistricting battle that the Republicans have finally woken up to. So, got to talk about redistricting and the fact that this fight is getting bigger. You've got California trying to join in the mix, and that is prompting other red states to say, hey, no. You want to turn this into a war? We will turn it into a war. This is absolutely amazing stuff. Welcome to Courageous Media. Please smash that like button. Here we go. Check this out from Interactive Polling right now on X. Great account to go check out. So, check this out. This is great stuff. Republicans are exploring ways to redraw congressional maps in their favor well beyond Texas. The Florida State House just set up a committee to look into redistricting in anticipation of a redraw. So please be advised, it will not be. Basically what you've got is you've got Florida. The Florida legislature has set up a committee to look at redistricting. They are getting ahead of this because if they want to get this done by the midterms, it's got to happen fairly fast. Now, the interesting thing about Florida is Florida can, with a stroke of a pen in the House, in their legislature, was signed by the governor, can redistrict. They can do it just like Texas did. They pass a bill that says we're redistricting, they redistrict. And this is going to be huge. Check this out from Gunther Eagleman. Gunther Eagleman, he's another great watch on X, but this is great stuff. Want to make liberals' head explode? Share this post, Florida redistricting. Florida is now joining the redistricting that Texas is undertaking. By the time this is all said and done, the GOP may actually pick up over a dozen seats. Cue the meltdowns. So, absolutely amazing stuff. And this is because California has threatened to try to get in on the action. It's crazy. So Newsom has been signaling this for a while now. Newsom basically said, oh, Texas redistricts, so we're going to redistrict. Now, the problem is that Gavin Newsom cannot, via the legislature and a signed bill, redistrict in California. They passed laws, ballot measures, parts of the California Constitution that have taken redistricting out of politicians' hands. And they belong to an independent redistricting committee. Now, it is an ultra-left redistricting committee, but it belongs to a redistricting committee. And basically, their laws say that they can only do it every 10 years. So that redistricting committee would have to basically violate the current charter in order to do it early. But Gavin Newsom, what he's trying to do now is he's trying to ram through a bill within the California legislature that proposes a ballot measure and a special election for that ballot measure that they want to do immediately and get California voters out to vote to approve the ballot measure that allows them to redistrict. So that is all the hurdles that they have to overcome. They have to get this ballot measure passed. Then they have to get the ballot measure and a special election set up. Then they have to pass the ballot measure. Then it would go back to the redistricting committee, and they would need their uber left redistricting committee to then redistrict everything. So there's a lot of hurdles to overcome. But the interesting thing is that they're actually trying to do it. And that's got everybody from red states now going on the offensive. You'll remember this little clip between Trump and DeSantis a few weeks ago. Great stuff. We'll revisit it here as we check in on the redistricting fight.
In the majority. So I include anybody that happens to be in your state. Well, California would lose like 5 seats if they did a fair census. And even beyond that, the Biden census gypped Florida of at least one seat. We only got one seat in the last census. Are you trying to tell me that Florida only had one seat in that? We should have had at least two. Texas should have had another one. That could be the difference in the House of Representatives and the majority. So I would love for them to redo the census for 26. My legislature will redistrict those lines. We'll get it to where it's fair. But as it's right now, this country is not fairly apportioned. I've got so many more millions of people in Florida that have representation because of that flawed census.
Absolutely true. Now, and this is, so two things are happening at the same time. You've got California rattling their redistricting saber, which has got all the red states, and we're going to get into that, on the offensive now, including Florida. Plus, you've got President Trump saying, no, we're going to redo the census because of three major things. One, you had all these illegal aliens that never should have been counted, and that caused states like Texas to get undercounted. B, we had massive migrations within the United States of citizens from blue states to red states during COVID. And this whole other census took place during COVID, and it was an absolute flawed operation. So Trump is now going to basically throw a big landmine into this whole thing because he has directed the immediate start of a new census that will exclude illegal aliens. This census alone has the potential of reapportioning within the states and giving red states another 20 seats that they would then have to go redistrict because they would be adding seats in red states, deep red states that Trump carried by 10, 12, 15 points. This is absolutely massive stuff. Now, so you've got that happening. Plus, you've got fights within California itself. Even though Gavin Newsom thinks he's going to ram this thing through, you've got the GOP in California basically starting to put up a fight. They're growing a backbone and finding some teeth. Check this out.
What you are seeing is one of the darkest moments of California state government as Governor Gavin Newsom and the supermajority in Sacramento literally violate their oath to uphold the state constitution, not only on the issue that we are suing on today, but on a number of fronts. But let's start with the issue that they are violating today. Article 4, Section 8A of our state constitution was put in place to provide the public with the right to know what is going on in their state government, the right to participate, the right to voice their opposition to legislation. The transparency provided in the state constitution is so important that not only a supermajority vote is required, but a mega majority vote is required of 3/4 of the membership.
Exactly. And so what you've got now, Carl DeMaio, we are suing Newsom. Gavin Newsom and Democrat politicians are blatantly violating the California Constitution to ram through a corrupt redistricting scheme. So not only does Gavin Newsom have to get a vote, but now he's got an actual legal fight, which could proceed up to the Supreme Court and delay this whole thing beyond what would even be worthwhile for the 26 midterms. Now, considering all that that's in play, if California decides to go nuclear and they draw the red states into a fight, this is what it's going to look like. So you've got redistricting map is picking up. So you got Florida, Texas is already +5, but Texas can do another 5 if they want to. Florida +5, Indiana +2, Ohio +2, Missouri, California, maybe they get 5 if it passes. Now, you've also got race-based redistricting being taken up by the Supreme Court, and you've got the whole new census, which could lead to another 20 to 30 seats. The Republicans have finally grown a backbone and a pair of cojones and are starting to govern. They're actually starting to wield power because Trump is remaking the Republican Party into the MAGA Party, into the Make America Great Again, the America First Party, and they are going after these corrupt socialist/communist, deep state, globalist corruptocrats that have infested our government for decades. And it is glorious to see. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know how you think the redistricting fight is going to play out. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. Also, let me know what you think about John Warmonger Bolton and if he's going to prison or not. Thanks for being here. Remember, God is good and he is sovereign. It'll all be good in the end. Please smash that like button, like, comment, and subscribe. And if you would like to, please share Courageous Media with everybody that you know. And if you're so inclined, hit that join button, become a member of the Courageous Army. Really appreciate you being here. Until we catch you next time, have a great weekend.